I think right now I don't. I'm
Okay,
already
we're just
getting,
gonna keep it then at just
I'm
Christy
already
B.
getting death threats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't do it. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and apparently happy International Women's Day. I have only just recently discovered, and it couldn't be more perfect because I am joined by just Christy B, who Christy, you just launched this YouTube channel not too long ago, and I mean, really not too long ago. We're talking like 3 to 4 episodes, and already on both my personal and the PokerNews YouTube account, it was like, oh, recommended, recommended. So I watched a couple of your videos, and I'm super excited about what you're working on. So first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So for the viewers who haven't checked it out, let me just lay it out there. You need to go check out on YouTube just Christy B, B as in boy, Christy as in not Christy Arnett, but Christy CH. Christy
Hmm.
Christy. But really, if you just Google new female poker vlogger, you can find it. I've also done that just to double check. I found it. So let's talk a little bit about the inspiration for this vlog.
Yeah. Well, I definitely love watching poker vlogs and just looking through YouTube for more content made by women and made by women and about women. I didn't see very much, and that was really discouraging. So even though I'm not a professional poker player, it definitely shows. I was like, huh, I wonder if I had some things I could share. And so I really started the vlog kind of out of curiosity and just to have a different experience. And it's already gotten a little bit wild. So I'm having fun with it.
It's all about that hype. I love it. And I think one of the things that you mentioned that is at least for me the most interesting element of the game has always been the sort of psychological element. I think that's the most attractive. And you mentioned that you come from a background in psychology and also in I think maybe your second or third vlog, you kind of are exploring with doing some sort of like experiments, but obviously they're um, you know, there's not a lot of control groups or anything. It's just your
Yeah.
own personal experiments. But I found it super interesting. So talk to me a little bit about some of those goals and things that you're trying and also the results.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not like a purely scientific experiment. I have to like repeat it over and over again with like controlled variables, right? Um, but I really am curious about appearance and how that impacts things at the poker table. And yeah, I want to know for myself, like what appearance do I prefer? How do people respond to me when I look differently? Even yesterday, I'm working on my next vlog. I went and played poker and I tried on like a totally different outfit. So there's a way that I'm exploring my own image and what that means to me and how I want to feel and act at the poker table and how I want people to recognize me.
So of course you don't want to give everything away. You guys are gonna have to watch the vlog itself. But tell me what have been some of the things that you've noticed or what have been some of the results?
Yeah. So I my the first part of my experiment, I dressed really casually, and the main thing I noticed is that just no one really interacted with me, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I didn't have to talk to anybody, didn't have to like answer any BS questions." And then the second time I did my experiment, I got dressed up and I did my hair, did my makeup, and I just was so uncomfortable because I knew I was going to attract attention. And then, yeah, getting lots of comments and questions all night and just things I didn't, conversations I didn't want to be a part of. I got kind of roped into. So that's the
Standard.
main, yeah, that's the main thing I noticed. Yeah.
So standard. I always think like when I go to breakfast, at the poker tournaments and I'm like in my pajamas and look horrible, people cannot wait to like avoid me. And then when I come in with like the dress and the heels, it's like you're basically inviting it. You're basically saying
Yeah.
like, "Hello, I'm a peacocking, like come pay attention to
Hmm.
me."
Hmm.
It's so weird. Well, I think one of the things that you talk about is not being a professional poker player, which I love. I've started a sort of crypto video and podcast recently, and it from the perspective of, hey, I'm not a professional but I'm just exploring it. And I think there's also a lot of things that you can offer from that perspective versus say being a pro. But you do obviously play a lot, so talk to us a little bit about discovering poker and what role it plays in your life?
Yeah. So my husband is a poker player, and he's dealt poker for like over 10 years. He works at a card room in California, a card room and like sports bar. So he got me into poker. Really, it was like sitting on the couch and watching videos with him is what
Totally.
got me is what got me into poker. And I really loved the strategy behind it. I loved just watching those high roller events and learning different concepts. So that's really what got me interested. Though I always have loved games and played cards, gin, solitaire, all the crazy eights, all different kinds of games when I was younger. I never really played poker, so I really just started learning poker a couple years ago. And for me, how it fits into my life, it's not something I want to do professionally or I need to do professionally, but I like to be able to do. I like to be able to sit at the poker table and feel like I have a good, solid understanding of what I'm doing and how to actually be successful and have a good time, and not just like sit there and throw away my money and feel like crap afterwards. So that's really why I'm making this vlog, to help myself become more competent and just a stronger player, to be able to enjoy myself more when I do play poker.
Well, I think in terms of the experiment of how people react to you at the table, the larger implication of this whole vlog experience will also be that, people will definitely, I think, Andrew Nemi's coming on the show next week, but I've done several interviews with him and Brad Owen, and it's funny, like for people who can spend time in a sort of anonymous space, and then within 3 or 4 months everyone knows who you are. So we'll have to check back at some point and find out. But I think for me, at least, being on the internet and putting yourself out in that digital space, it's, of course, it has some bonuses, and of course there's the cool kind of creative exploration of putting something out there, but it can be really difficult and painful, especially in the beginning,
Hmm.
getting feedback, because a lot of it is horrific. So what has your experience been so far? Have you been able to sort of filter through it?
Yeah, I think I noticed like the first trolls the most, because
Yeah.
it was when my channel was really young and I was like just starting to get some views. And the first trolls just stood out because they were the first ones. And so I think at first it bothered me. There were some times when I think I responded to things that I shouldn't have in ways that I probably could have avoided. But I also really like a lot of the comments people have been leaving, and it's like a really interesting dialogue that's starting. A lot of it around mental health and like having healthy gambling habits, or people telling their own stories of, oh yeah, this thing happened to me at the poker table that was really weird, or I'm just a beginner poker player too, but I haven't worked up the courage to go out yet and play. So that really makes me curious and excited to see that people are responding to the vlogs and kind of starting a conversation around it.
Yeah, especially for someone with a psychological background, I feel like it gives you all sort of more anecdotal just information about people's experiences. Well,
Yeah.
from seeing what you're doing on the blog, it seems like you're in Tahoe. Obviously, wherever you are right now is awesome, but talk to us about sort of where you find yourself most of the time and what types of games you're usually looking for.
Yeah. Part of the reason another reason why I started the vlog is that I have a ski lease in Tahoe City. It's just an hour from Reno. Incline Village, which is right on the California-Nevada border, is just like a couple miles away. So there's like some little casinos and stuff over there. And I come up here regularly to go snowboarding, which you'll see in the vlog. And some of my housemates that shared the ski lease are learning poker. And so we were sitting at the ski lease, drinking and hanging out and playing a home game. And I was like, hey, you guys, we should go to Reno one night and play a little tournament. And so I also was inspired to make the vlog because of them, because I was like, oh, they're learning. They're really having fun with it, but they haven't had the courage yet to go and sit down and like a live game somewhere. So
It's
that's part of,
crazy the first time.
yeah, yeah.
I
The
think I was like literally shaking the first time I went and played cards like in an actual poker room.
I
It's
felt I felt like I was in disguise the first time I played. I was like, pretend you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Don't tell anyone you
Yes.
don't.
You're like shuffling your chips, but like really
Yeah,
awkwardly
yeah,
trying to get it together.
yeah. I was like, I'll just put on a hoodie and I'll have a backpack and everyone will think I'm serious.
Well, of course, learning poker is really difficult. Of course, I think playing your first tournaments is different than playing your first cash games. All these things I think have their own elements of difficulty. But
Mhm.
from me being in the world of content creation and media, shooting and editing is really difficult. So, like, talk to us about that journey so far, and did you have any experience with this before? Or has it been all like learning as you go?
It's been a lot of learning as I go. I definitely have a pretty creative background and have made like little videos before for different reasons, but nothing really significant that I was going to share widely in a way that like represented me. So I have been learning a lot as I've gone. Every time I sit down to make a vlog, I learn something new on Premiere Pro, which is the software I'm using. But that's also part of, so it's definitely a lot of work, the editing and the shooting, but it's also part of what I love. I think specifically the shooting has encouraged me to like slow down and look at things in a different way. I love being like, oh, look at that, like look at that leaf over there. Like let me, it's like blowing so perfectly in the wind. Let me get a little clip of that. It forces me to slow down in a way that I don't always in my day-to-day life. So I really appreciate that specifically about making the videos.
And I think that's one of the coolest things about vlogging, and I noticed even in your first video, some people were commenting on, "Oh, I really liked how she was showing, what the area looked like," and it's
Mhm.
interesting because it actually in some ways really does it's like we get to see the world through your eyes. So first we get to
Mhm.
hear you and see you and get all, like, what it's like to just be us 2 together, but then when
Mhm.
you're shooting the camera the other way, it gives us sort of a POV, like, this is what it's like
Mhm.
to be you, and I don't know. I don't know. I really think of course, I'm obsessed with the whole concept of vlogging. I think it's such a sort of revolution in the way that people are both consuming and creating content. But
Mhm.
in terms of, your relationship, you said your guy's a poker player. What has it been like for him to see you kind of in this position?
Oh my God. He's hilarious. I love him so much. So I'm like very much a hobbyist and like I get so driven to do things all the time, like take up different hobbies or do different things. So I think when I told him I was starting a vlog, he kind of rolled his eyes and he was like, "Oh God, like we'll see how long this lasts."
Like, "Oh,
I like,
crocheting. I get
yeah,
it."
exactly. Like that time you spent all that money buying those other art materials that have been sitting on the shelf for the past 2 years. So he kind of rolled his eyes a little bit at first, and now that a few vlogs are out, and that I've been able to like to tell him about my process, he's like, okay. But he's also worried. This is, I think, the main thing for him. He was worried that people would hurt my feelings, which I thought was kind of sweet. He's like, I don't want somebody to be a jerk to you and really upset you on the internet. And yeah, I think that was caring of him. And I also am like, it's just the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, nothing I'm not used to. Like, come on, trolls. Like, what you got?
It's so
Tell me
funny.
what you
I was just talking to someone. Oh, Natalie Hoff. I was just talking to her on my last trip, and it's so interesting, like, the things that get to you or don't, and really when they do and don't. Like, I think it like,
Mhm.
when you're sober and everything's going good and everything's okay, like, every now and then, like, I'll have a few cocktails and, like, see something, and I'm like, "Oh, that makes me so mad." But it's funny too because I think, um I I'm a big believer in I'm actually not really that interested in the space of, like, being a woman and, like, how men like, women need to be treated this certain way or something. I don't know, it's just not as interesting to me, but I can say, I guess, actually, as a woman on the internet, I was discovering in this conversation I was talking about is, like, it doesn't bother me when people say all these weird, gross sex things, or it doesn't bother me when people are, like, objectifying me, but really bothers me if they say that you're stupid or if they
Mm.
just assume that, oh, she only has this, she's only doing this because she's a woman, or she only gets viewers because she's a woman, or these type of things. It's interesting. It's like actually the most harmful things are the things which have nothing to do with, I guess, being a woman or being sexualized or something. We're not all idiots, okay?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I think it's going to be different for everyone. And I try to make that clear in my blog too. They're like, hey, this is my experience. I can't speak for everybody. I'm going to make some generalizations, but this is like what's happened to me and how I feel about it and how I think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, you and I are going to have different responses. I might
Yes.
be more pissed off about the sex stuff.
Yes.
So we'll go together and like when they say something about being stupid, you can like take them down. When they say something about being like sexualized, I'll take them down and we'll
Yeah,
like,
one at a time,
yeah.
one piece at a time. I just think it's such an interesting dialogue that I've been hearing a lot more lately, because I think for a while I just was like, oh, I don't read the comments and I don't care. But now I realize also part of creating content is also about what you were mentioning before about having a community, sort of, that
Mhm.
you create the content and then there is this dialogue that starts to evolve and you start to build these relationships. And so you can't really just ignore it and still create that community, I guess, around your vlogs
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much more good than there is bad. So it would suck to ignore all the good stuff just because there's a little bit of like crap mixed in there.
Right.
There's tons of great things that people are writing.
So talk to me about sort of what your, in terms of your goals for, I want to produce one video a week, or it always drops on Wednesday, or what is your sort of schedule
Mhm.
and plan for the vlog? You're like, I have no idea. Whenever I play
Well,
poker, it
well,
happens.
yeah. No, I kind of part of for me it's a balance. Like I want to have a schedule. I've been trying to release videos on Monday, though I know that hasn't been 100% consistent, and play about once a week, but I also want to prioritize my needs. Like I'm not, you know, I am dedicated to this vlog, but I'm not consumed or controlled by it. So if I need to take a break for a week or two, I'm just not going to put out a video, or I'll put out a different kind of video. I'll be like, hey, I didn't do a poker vlog this week, but in case you want to
Q&A.
see, yeah, I did some Q&A, or like, here's some awesome, awesome footage I took when I like visited this cool place. So I want to be a little bit flexible with myself about that because I don't want it to become a chore, but actually something that I really enjoy doing. Right now, it definitely is something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So I'm aiming for more or less every Monday with a little bit of flexibility in there.
Well, you mentioned even right from the beginning that it's not just going to be about poker, it's also going to be about sort of lifestyle
Mhm.
and also the psychology and stuff. But when you say lifestyle, talk us through like what we can expect from that. Food,
So
exercise.
yeah, I get lifestyle is like a really broad term, and I feel like I use that because I couldn't find a better word to describe what I'm thinking, which is like, which yeah. So yeah, a little bit poker and a little bit lifestyle. So when I think of lifestyle, I think of like outlook, like my outlook on mental health, on gambling. That's part of my lifestyle. That informs my lifestyle. My outlook on other healthy habits, healthy eating habits, or exercise, traveling, community, and I think it's what what really interests me is how I think the comments in the vlog are already reflecting that. Like I feel like it is this little mini community,
Mhm.
and people are dialoguing with each other, and I'm also having dialogues with people about just the different things going on in their lives. So that's really curious to me, and that's more or less what I mean by lifestyle, though it may not be the most accurate use of that term.
I love it. I think and it's really interesting because like I've been doing a lot of research in the last 6 months or so on just big data and
Mhm.
how basically YouTube and Facebook and all these platforms have been shifting their algorithms.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because they're shifting them towards this idea of community. And it's because community based content and people who support each other actually stay on the internet longer and they promote each other and they that basically just everyone is shifting their algorithms from this idea of like
Yeah.
just broadcasting your own things to actually um sort of going back and forth, bringing someone in, and then even if they continue on to something else that's connected to you, it's
Mhm.
good for, obviously YouTube or Facebook or whatever. But I thought it was interesting because I think in the beginning, this idea of like social media was so much about projecting, and now that it's shifting into a community, it feels maybe a little bit more valuable, like
Yeah.
slightly,
Yeah.
just
I
slightly.
I intentionally in the past have pretty much stayed away from social media for kind of that reason that you mentioned. Like it's really just like
Poison.
it felt yeah. It felt really like just an exhibit, right? Like, you know, you get to show what you want. And there's a way that even the vlogs, I'm still showing what I want, right? Like you literally aren't watching me roll out of bed in the morning and be like, oh, I missed the call from Auntie Chardonnay. but uh, but but the vlog, the yeah, I think that algorithm was really interesting because the vlog definitely, I think it allows for a little bit more perspective, and the comments in particular, I really like doing that kind of the Q&A. Like that was fun for me. I think that was my favorite video so far, which maybe for some people it wasn't because there was no poker in it, but like getting to sit and answer some questions that have already stirred up more comments and more dialogue. Um,
Which
and
can
being able,
also then inspire videos to come and stuff.
yeah, exactly. It like keeps the conversation going. And I really like that because I feel like that's something that lacks kind of in general in our society. And I tend to believe that people were more alike than we are different. And so like being able to sit down and talk about things, even if you have differing viewpoints, I think that's really valuable.
I totally agree. It's sometimes why I'm like not as much on the like Woman Hear Me Roar program, because I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, we're all so much more alike than we realize. Like, I mean, we're different.
Yeah.
But we're the same, but
I
different.
so not yeah, just a tiny mention about that. I've had a lot of people comment on because I bring up gender a number of times, which I'm going to. Like I'm going to state the obvious. Like, hey, I'm a woman. I have ovaries. Not many people with ovaries are making videos like this. Um, and that just changes things. But I've had a number of people comment about like, oh, you're like a feminist, you're such a feminist, or like, blah, blah, and like in an insulting way. And, or like, oh, I can see this being another like hashtag Me Too thing. And that's so funny because I've never really like been a part of either of those movements. But it's also people projecting and also just having a limited view still. Even in this like short vlog, you're only going to see like a little bit about me and my perspective that I'm sharing with you. So I might
But
look
and we
like a
all are
raving
also
feminist.
different. No, but we are also different. I have this conversation all the time. My husband and I
Yeah.
talk about it all the time. Our experiences of everything has been completely different because he's a man and I'm a woman. Like
Hmm.
it's just different. We just have different
Yeah.
experiences, like one
Yeah.
and the other. There are definitely huge commonalities, I think, of course, in just
Hmm.
being a human being. But yeah, it's I actually think the expectation, I guess that's more what my
And
like issue is, like the
yeah,
expectation that we should be the same is like, no, we're not. We're just not. And like we
totally.
don't have the same
Totally.
experience. So why would we be?
And I had some men comment too that were like, "Don't hate men. We're not all bad." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm making them think I hate men. Like I really like I love men. I love men so much."
And I love how they're
Yeah,
different. Like that's great
yeah.
too.
I think I just wanted to share my experience, and it feels really nice to be seen as having a unique experience, not like trying to be like men suck, men are terrible. Don't ever talk to men.
No.
I love men so much and have extraordinarily like amazing interactions with guys all the time. I
Yes.
just know that typically women don't harass me,
Yeah.
but
That's true.
sometimes men do. And also I typically am not playing poker with women, so I have to reflect on my experience playing poker with men, and that's just going to be part of how that goes.
I
Part of
think
the reality.
even this audience, like the Poker News podcast audience, and actually we can see from the demographics of our YouTube audience,
Mhm.
it's okay, it's gotten a little bit better, but it's essentially like 90% men. Like 90% men is our audience. So it's the same. I'm like, okay, I'm mostly reflecting on like my experiences because that's all that we're dealing with. If you're a woman in poker, like you're basically just dealing with men. That's it.
Mhm.
There's the
Mhm.
occasional female, but that is what's so nice actually about seeing you and about seeing this vlog. And it is really, at least for me, it was really, I just was like snap interested, and could totally relate to a lot of the things that you're talking about, and also not just talking about, but experimenting with. I think that's like the coolest element. What are some of the things we can expect, I guess, in the future? Some other things you might try in terms of like dressing or trying to manipulate your perception at the table?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. So I've been experimenting with my overall image and like how do I want to play versus how do I want to be perceived. So that's something that I'm working on right now. So I might do something with image in combination with like style of play. Like I
Yes.
might yeah, like I might dress, I don't know how, but a certain way one day and play like a tight aggressive style, then play a certain way another day and play a loose aggressive style. And I need to have the bankroll for that though, because I know I might just lose if I'm focused on the experiment. But there's a way that if I'm playing a low stakes game, it feels really worth it. Like I did that experiment the other week, totally didn't play very well, but I learned something really valuable. So I think those lessons are worth it if I'm not if I'm not spending too much money at the poker tables.
It's like an investment. It's like going to college or whatever. You're finding out information that's really, in the long run,
Absolutely.
probably way worth paying for.
Absolutely. Last night
Well,
I wore I played last night and I
yeah,
wore sunglasses and they were like gold mirrored sunglasses and it was
like full
really funny.
diva.
Full diva. Well, I was like, I was just wearing like regular like leggings and a long sleeve shirt, but I had the gold like mirrored sunglasses and like I was getting so many comments from people, but it was funny because I was playing a more aggressive style and some of the guys at the table were commenting on that. Like, oh, there she goes, raising it up again. Like, I can't see if she's looking at me or not. That was kind of cracking me up on the inside, just and one guy eventually went to his car and got his sunglasses and put them on. And he was like, damn it, I can't see the cards, so I have to take these off.
How funny though, if you think like how
Yeah.
one person is like can really just be impacting the whole one decision that you make can
Yeah.
change the whole dynamic of the table.
Hmm.
Fun. See, this is the stuff I can't wait. Well, I'm super excited for all the rest of your vlog, and if you need to take some weeks off, okay, fine, we accept. But for the viewers listening, and for those who are listening not on viewing, just actually with their ears, where can they find you? I know we just forced you into the Twitter sphere, and I'm very sorry for that.
I know you did that. It's
Yeah.
okay. I accept that it was you. So I've kept everything consistent. It's at just Christy B. So just as in like I'm just a human. And then Christy is spelled like Christ with a Y. And then B as in boy. However, somebody recently said, is it B for badass? And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
actually,
It's B for badass. Thank you.
for badass, and that's exactly what it stands for. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I don't want to get in the way of your busy snowboarding and poker playing schedule because it sounds amazing. But I appreciate you so much, and we will just be looking forward to seeing way more from you. And I'd love to catch up with you again, maybe like later on towards the summer, and kind of find out where it's all gone, where this whole experiment has ended.
Yeah, that sounds great. Please catch up with me again. Come hang out. We'll go snowboarding.
I was like,
We'll
yeah, I
hang
want to
out.
be on that train too.
Yeah, we'll hang out in the hot tub with a bottle of wine.
That sounds like exactly the kind of vacation I'm trying to get on. Let's go play a cheap poker
This is,
tournament,
this is why we
drink
need
wine.
this is why we need more women in poker, right? Like women know how to have fun.
Yeah, bring it, girl. All right, thank you so much, and thank you guys for joining us. And